everyone. I'm After McManus, Director of Marketing at Affectiva. Welcome to Affectiva Asks, a human-centric AI podcast, where each episode we will interview a thought leader doing cutting-edge work in the AI space. A little bit about us. Affectiva is the pioneer of human perception AI, software that can detect nuanced human emotions, complex cognitive states, behaviors, activities, and interactions. And Affectiva is applying that technology to advance the next generation of multimodal in-cabin sensing. Today's episode features Abdo Mahmood, Senior Product Manager at Affectiva. During the interview, he talks to us a bit about his background and career trajectory at Affectiva, while also describing Affectiva's offerings that enable an understanding of what is happening with the people inside the vehicle.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. With me, I have Abdo, Product Manager at Affectiva. Thank you so much for making the time to speak today.
Oh, thanks, Ashley, for hosting me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Awesome. So let's start with your background. Can you speak to your career trajectory and how you arrived to your role at Affectiva today?
So I grew up in Cairo, Egypt. I was passionate about machines and how do I make them more friendly and kind of human-machine interaction in general. During my college, I was lucky enough to get involved in a project with the Affective Computing Group at the Media Lab, where we were detecting facial expressions. Then Affectiva spun out of the Affective Computing Group and to commercialize the technology around facial expression detection. The main application was in market research, and now it's we deviated into automotive. So I joined Affectiva, starting first as a software engineer. I wanted to learn more about what it would take to actually build cloud software, and also help productize that technology or the research project that I worked on in the Media Lab. And then eventually I wanted to play a more critical role in defining use cases, but also defining what a human-machine interaction should look like and how this emotion recognition technology should be used. And that's how I ended up being a product manager.
Great. So let's talk about your current role a little bit. I know you're currently focused on more occupant experience side of vehicles. Can you talk a little bit more about that, what that means, and maybe what you're working on?
Yeah. So generally speaking, I work with OEMs on defining use cases around how the technology or how artificial intelligence technology in general or AI could be used in smart cabins. That is from telling the smart AI, for instance, the virtual assistant or the infotainment system in the car, where people are sitting, all the way through to how they're feeling, to what are the objects that they're interacted with or they left in the car. And finally, if it's the driver, are they awake or asleep? I focus more on the holistic view of the cabin. Typically, I work with cameras more than microphones, I guess. Although we have both technologies, but I work more with cameras that see the whole cabin and and analyze the scene to try to understand information about everyone in the cabin.
So in your opinion, what are some of the key challenges, the automotive industry faces in trying to improve these in-cabin occupant experiences within the car?
Yeah, I think like any new technology, AI specific comes with its own challenges around productization, also running on platforms in the car that mostly weren't designed to run AI systems to begin with, or the designers, for instance, of the system on chips didn't have from the get-go in mind the idea of implementing complex AI pipelines to run on their hardware. So that's, I guess, one big challenge. There is another challenge around, more specifically, how users are going to receive these interactions and how to make the interactions or the models, for instance, learn about the behavior of the user, but also the third challenge is around how do you design HMI systems that compensate for failures in an AI model. Because, for instance, AI models are never perfect. There's always a trade-off between the accuracy of a model and for instance, the speed of the inference. So how do you compensate for that by using smart HMI systems? And then generally speaking, what people are started doing, or the current approach, is to use multiple signals from the vehicle to be able to make a smart decision. Like, for example, in the driver monitoring space, use multiple signals between the telematics as well as the driver monitoring system. In the in-cabin sensing space, use multiple signals. Like, for example, if you want to give a seatbelt warning, use multiple signals about where people are sitting by looking at the scene of the camera, but also if there are other sensors that are attached to the seat that can help narrow down or validate that signal.
Interesting. So, understanding these challenges, what are the opportunities for shaping kind of the new in-cabin sensing solutions of the future, and what role do you see Affectiva technology playing in this?
So at Affectiva, as I mentioned, we're not just focused anymore on just emotion. We want to, in the field of automotive or in the automotive vertical, we're building an AI system that can analyze the scene and understand different aspects of the scene. And that is critical for smart cabins in the future. Generally speaking, with the push into having autonomous cars, or level 3 to level 4 cars, how it's going to be the next challenge in automotive is going to be about differentiating or paying attention to the HMI in the car to be able to differentiate experiences across different brands, as well as also in the ride-sharing use cases where you have a completely robo-taxi. How do you differentiate one ride-sharing company from another ride-sharing company? Also, especially around how do you monetize, for instance, the time of the people that are spending inside the cabin, and use capture their attention and monetize that. All of these challenges around the in-cabin of the future, or the cabin of the future, the smart cabin, you need to understand, or the systems need to understand what is happening inside the cabin. So they need data around where people are sitting, what objects are in the scene, are they paying attention or not to, for instance, if you're having them watch a video, are they cognitively loaded or not, and so on. And that's essentially the next frontier, after people have been focused a lot on how to make the cars to drive itself. But the next frontier is actually inwards. How do you customize, or how do you personalize that experience?
Okay, so what, in your opinion, do you think the technical hurdles that are most challenging to overcome in order to create this, in-cabin experience of the future?
I think the biggest technical hurdle is actually how do you help these systems learn feedback from the users, and how do you update them using shared knowledge, for instance, either from the different vehicles, or shared or knowledge by essentially having a model getting retrained and then deploying that model. I think that's the kind of the biggest challenge when it comes to in-cabin sensing, because this is a bit different from how the automotive industry has been operating so far. So a lot of the software, as complex the software in the car is going to get, the more complex it's going to get, the more maintenance it would need in the long term. And building that in, it's just a shift of mindset when it comes to the automotive industry. I think that's one. The other challenge that I would highlight is that building systems that are AI based or using AI models inside them is a bit different from traditional software development. At Affectiva, we use a hybrid approach for building AI systems. We use machine learning models or deep learning based models married with rule-based models, and that helps us to get a bit more predictability in terms of behavior. And that's a slightly different approach than going completely, or like traditional software development where you have all of the rules predefined. It's a completely different way of how do you build these systems, how do you validate these systems in the wild. So it's fascinating how the industry is shifting and how is the model around how you're developing a car is essentially shifting and will continue to shift over the next couple of years.
All right. So earlier in your answer, you talked about different vehicles. I just wanted to clarify, do you mean the same person using different vehicles? So like if I have more than one car, or are you talking about like a ride sharing use case?
Yeah, I guess both. I see both use cases. In one case, imagine if you a business model where you're just renting a car and you have a profile. Your profile shifts from one car to another. That profile is used to authenticate you using your face when you get into the car to make sure that you have access to that car, all the way through to putting your seat preferences for that car automatically when you get into the car, and light conditions, preferred routes, and so on, all the way through to showing you your personalized content. So that's if you are kind of transferring between different cars. Maybe they're leased cars, maybe you own some of them or not, all the way through to completely a ride-sharing vehicle where you don't own, you're just renting a car from a fleet, and you're getting into the vehicle for the first time, and it's essentially personalizing experience there.
Are there any technological innovations in mobility that really excite you?
Yes, two things. One of them is 5G connectivity. I think that's going to be a game changer for everyone, especially around how to update software, how to communicate data that the vehicle has learned with other vehicles or with, for instance, ride-sharing companies. That's one. I think the other one is the introduction of virtual assistants in the car. I think that's also going to be a game changer as far as HMI in the car. And that's because the HMI in the car has for a long time being stagnant. There's not a lot of focus on it versus the recent years. Virtual assistants are essentially, it's the way that humans interact. They interact either through facial expressions or through voice. Voice interfaces are natural when it comes to human communication. So that's going to be a game changer when it comes to HMI in the car. I think the next step on HMI, on essentially virtual assistants, is going beyond just having them answer a specific set of commands that are in the domain of the car, to have them be able to carry a conversation. And in order for them to be able to do that, they have to recognize the emotional side of the conversation, in addition to the being able to recognize the words, what is being said. And that's a bit in line with what we're working on with the Nuance team. in terms of the automotive branch with the nuance team, in terms of how do you make the interaction with the car a bit more personalized? How do you detect things like frustration, for example, if of an HMI in the vehicle, and be able to respond to that and change the tone of voice, change the virtual assistant behavior, and so on.
Cool. So how do you see the role of OEMs and Tier 1s transforming with all of this industry change? And are you seeing any trends in your conversations with them or our partners?
Yeah, I think the industry is changing. Traditionally, requirements get handed down between the OEMs to the Tier 1 suppliers to the Tier 2s. I guess in that case, I would consider Affectiva as a Tier 2. Generally speaking, that is different. It's becoming more of a collaboration process as far as the requirements between three parties: Tier 1s, Tier 2s, and OEMs. And the idea is that because these systems are becoming more complex, you have to get involved in the design from day one, and that it's becoming a bit more collaborative, which is cool.
Awesome. So you are speaking at a couple of upcoming events. I know one of them, Drive World and Mobility California, and also at our Emotion AI Summit. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit about what you will be covering in those presentations.
Yeah, so in Drive World, as well as in the summit, I'll talk a little bit about the technical challenges of deploying a AI-based product, more specifically in in-cabin sensing in the car. What we have learned so far, I guess, from our experiences, and what are the things that when you're thinking about designing such a product, what are the things that you or anyone should keep into account, more specifically 5 things. In the mobility conference, I actually am on a panel that is about artificial intelligence and what does that mean for the automotive industry. So I'm looking forward to that productive conversation in general.
All right. So this also would be your third Emotion AI Summit, the first one where you're a speaker, I believe.
Yeah.
Can you tell us your experiences with this summit and what the event's like and what you thought?
Yes. So the summit over the last couple of years has been an excellent opportunity to interact with people across the aisle who are working in the artificial intelligence or AI, or building AI systems, or building HMI systems that are using AI systems. And it's an excellent opportunity for people to talk about things like, how do you design these systems in an ethical way and avoid bias? That was one of the main themes in last year's Emotion AI Summit. This year, the theme is even more closer to my heart, because it's about how to design human-centric HMIs or human-centric systems in general. It's going to be an excellent opportunity to talk with people in different industries, especially in automotive, around that topic.
Very cool. So anything else you'd like to touch on, or if you have any asks of people listening or recommendations where people can go to learn more?
Yeah, definitely come to the Emotion AI Summit. We would love to have you. Would love to have the different discussions with you. Check out our website to know more about our automotive products, whether it's driver monitoring systems or in-cabin sensing systems. Feel free to reach out either over Twitter or through our Affectiva Twitter in order to talk more about in-cabin sensing. I'd love to hear more around how you're envisioning. What data are you looking for inside the cabin? How do you envision these systems, and how do you and the interaction between your users and these systems in the car? And that's it.
Great. So one last question we're asking all of our guests. If your car could do one thing in the future to make your life easier, what would it be?
Good question. What would it be? I would love it so I am one of those people, very bad people, who text while they drive or check more specifically, mostly Slack. And I would love, like at some points in time in my commute back from the office, I would love it if my car could recognize that state and essentially take over, recommend that it will take over driving for me. I think that is actually not in the far future. It's a couple of technologies in mind that get played here, that are in play here. A lot of the external perception stuff where cars are going to have that capability to drive themselves in geofenced areas. So I'm hoping Boston is going to be one of those. And then the other one would be a camera inside the car that recognizes that there's a cell phone in my hand or that my attention is not on the road or both. Or that the cell phone in my hand is an indication that I don't have my attention on the road. And essentially use that information to actually recommend that it would take over driving. I have to note that just using my eye gaze to determine that is probably not going to work because I'm pretty good at making sure that I have situational awareness of what's happening on the road by periodically glancing at it and trying to figure it out. So we'll see.
Okay. So your car is going to help you work more. Got it. All right. So that's all I have for you. And I want to thank you, Abdo, so much for making the time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much for hosting me again. And thanks for listening.
Building a product that understands occupant emotions, cognitive states, and reactions to the driving experience is no easy feat. This conversation with Abdo helped me to understand how Affectiva is building human perception AI to deliver an intelligent in-cabin environment that is responsive and adaptive to the needs of the people in it. Abdo will be speaking at a number of events in the coming months, as well as presenting a technical workshop at our Emotion AI Summit coming up October 15th in Boston. Visit our events page to learn more or visit emotionaisummit.com. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to Affectiva's Human-Centric AI podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts for new episodes. We're also on social media, so please reach out to us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Affectiva to share any feedback you have on the show and weigh in on the discussion using hashtag AffectivaAsks. Don't forget to rate us and comment with your feedback to make the podcast more discoverable for others. Until next time, thanks for listening.